Stephen A. Smith had some pretty candid thoughts on his current employer, ESPN, and their recent layoffs of a lot of on-air personalities. On his podcast, Stephen A. said, ESPN laid off about 20 members of its on-air talent. Friends of mine, actually, definitely respected colleagues who've done a phenomenal job and deserve better. It's not Disney or ESPN that they deserve better from. They deserve better from the times that we are living in. Speaking about Jalen Rose specifically, Stephen A. said, I got a lot of love for that brother. A lot of the great work that he's done over the years, what he's represented for the company, I'm going to miss him. Jalen has always been good to me, and I love working with him on NBA Countdown. He is a brilliant basketball mind. He is somebody that worked his ass off all the time. There was never an assignment he backed away from. There was never a time that he didn't want to work. Jeff Van Gundy was an outstanding, brilliant basketball mind, an analyst for ESPN for years. I could say I'm going to miss him, but I sure can't imagine he's going to be out of work for long. I'm sure he'll be on air doing his thing. He's been a Hall of Fame analyst and commentator. Stephen A. had some kind words to even say about his former First Take co-host, Max Kellerman. He said, I'm even going to miss Max. I know y'all thought I wouldn't. I am not happy that he's gone. We all know what history we had. We all know what happened with he and I parting ways on First Take. I don't want the brother unemployed. I want him gainfully employed. I want him having a job and a career. And that brother knows his boxing inside and out and is smart as a whip and has been around a long time. I wish him no ill will. Matter of fact, although I sincerely doubt he ever would do this, if he ever called me needing my help, I would not hesitate to help him. And lastly, Stephen A. said even himself could be a part of potential layoffs going forward. He said, if we're going to be real about it, let's deal with reality. This ain't the end. More is coming. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I could be next. I don't think ESPN's going to let go a guy that they've invested so much in Stephen A. over the last 7, 8, 9 years. Bringing him back to the network truly was one of the smarter plays by ESPN this decade. I know sometimes y'all get tired of old Uncle Stephen A. and some of his takes, but I promise you, man, he is really one of the biggest brands we got. And I believe Stephen A.'s final calling as a person in this space of media, I believe will be a host of a late night television. As a matter of fact, if I'm being honest, you know what? I was watching a Scott Van Pelt interview the other day, and I don't know if he was just negotiating, for his next contract with ESPN. He said he's not going to be doing this for too many years longer. And I'm looking at a guy in Stephen A. kind of trying to figure out his way and where he fits in post Skip Bayless and post Max Kellerman. I still think he's kind of struggling a little bit to find his way. ESPN pays him a lot of money. I could see ESPN taking over as the late night host of a sports center. You could do it in LA. You could do it. You could do it right there in Los Angeles for him if he would like that. He spoke candidly a few times about living in Los Angeles. It would be a great replacement for SVP if he does call it Raps in a couple of years' time. We shall see. I will say this about the great Stephen A. I had a chance to do breakfast with him one time when I was an intern at the network. He really is a great guy behind the scenes. Like, he really is a guy that truly cares about, I can say this from my personal experience, young black men exceeding in a business, that hasn't been favorable to a lot of us that are non-athletes. If we're being real about it, this is a space that a lot of us are still fresh and new to. And I'm not an athlete. I'm not a guy that comes from money. I don't have millions of dollars of resources. So when you get a guy like Stephen A. that's willing to offer a hand to help, it really means the world to you, because he really is the guy at ESPN from a talent perspective. And I'm not saying he makes the most money, because I don't believe that is the case, but he definitely feels like one of the biggest entities over there. And having him be kind and helpful to young black men like self when I was there a couple times over, it means the world to me. So I want to make sure I say that. I don't know what direction ESPN goes with Stephen A. I mean, I thought that was a very interesting thing for him to put out in the atmosphere about even he could be next to go. I don't know. I don't like speaking like that about my future, and because I think you can manifest thoughts. I would say this. I talked about this in a previous video. If there were a way for FS1 to get Stephen A from ESPN right now, I don't think it would be ESPN opposed it. Like if FS1 reached out and said, yo, we trying to bring Stephen A over to join forces with Skip for Undisputed. Like I don't know if ESPN would just hang up the phone. I don't know. Maybe they would. I don't know though. I do not know. I think it's definitely an interesting spot for both Skip Bayless and Stephen A. I've said it multiple times. A lot of Stephen A's brand made sense next to Skip Bayless. He'll tell you himself, him going back to ESPN was strictly on a relationship that he had with Skip. To the debate, at least, the debate style television format. That was Skip. And now Stephen A is no longer, a day-to-day reporter. ESPN's got Woj for that now. I would believe, seriously, man, I would tend to believe there is a chance Stephen A is not with ESPN long term. I wouldn't say a good chance, but we've seen so much stuff happen. Anything is possible and plausible. And Stephen A is letting you know that.